Thank y'all coming for this special acoustic performance. I'm just kidding. My name is Miguel Ramos. I'm the Director of Community Economies for LA Mas. Thank you all for coming out, taking the time to be with us. We have a special presentation that our community housing fellow, Jennifer, has created for us, and I get to be part of it, thankfully. So also just want to be thankful for today, and thankful that we get to be here on these beautiful lands that the Tongva had just so beautifully taken care of for us, and to be good guests here, you know. So we always want to acknowledge that as we start anything, is just like honoring the indigenous people, the first peoples of these communities, and so we want to do that in that good way, and just those that have came before us and those that will come after. And so so thank you. This is part of our LA Mas workshop. This workshop actually came out of some conversations that we've had in our what we call NELACH, our Northeast LA Community Housing Alliance meeting, where as an organization we don't have the capacity to do all the different housing programs that there is, because could be so many different types, right? But something that we heard loud and clear from our residents, our base, people that came to those meetings, is like, hey, we're still interested in being able to buy collectively. We appreciate the work that we're doing. A lot of our work is to keep people rooted in their home, specifically here in Northeast LA, and specifically those working class communities. And so we've been doing that. We've taken 3 properties already off the market. Yay! Woo! Yes. And we just wanted to share that, although that's one strategy, there are many strategies, and all strategies are valid. And I think we're going to need all the strategies to continue to think about alternative ways of how we take care of each other, take care of the land, take care of our homes, take care of our communities and families. And so I'm going to kick it off to Jennifer to share a little bit more and kick off this workshop. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. So my name is Jennifer, and I am currently a community housing fellow here with LA Mas. But I am also professionally a realtor. So a lot of this is from case studies that I've seen, but also a lot of people are collective buying and talking more about the growing conversation about buying collectively, whether it is with friends, family, relatives, neighbors, or even strangers. So I'm gonna kick it off. So before we go into intros, I'm just gonna share with you all what the agenda is today. So we are gonna go through some of the myths in home buying, because it's important to demystify or actually share the truth, right? Instead of just the myth. Why collective purchasing? Why are people talking about it more? Why is it becoming more popular? Real life examples of what collective buying collectively is, ownership models, and also how you can prepare if this is something that you want to do yourself, and then we'll take some questions. So we're gonna get warmed up. So this is where everybody's here, whether you're familiar with LA Mas or if this is your first time joining an event. I want to get people's names, cities, and then would you be willing to buy with either a friend, family, neighbor, or stranger? So my name is Jennifer. Like I mentioned, I come from Huntington Park, and I would definitely be willing to buy with family. And then I'm going to introduce Carol, who's also going to be up here presenting alongside me. You want to introduce yourself?
Yes. Hi, everybody. I'm Carol Escobar. My home city is Lenox, California, and I would definitely be open to buying with family.
Awesome. Thank you all for sharing. So we have a diverse group of people here, right? Everybody believes that this could be a good idea. Some of you are like, yes, I'm willing to buy with a stranger, and different, levels of experience or willingness to want to buy with a family, friend, or neighbor. But how do we in this group, because it sounds like most of us are open to it, how do we compare to what home ownership actually looks like right now? So just to share, 15% of current homeowners are willing to buy with someone other than their romantic partner. And when we think about that, the current homeowners right now, if we're looking at 30 and above, that's 96.1% of homeowners are 31 and above. And the reason why this is important is because if you look at that number, that's only 15% of people willing to buy with someone that is a non-romantic partner. The next generation, Gen Z, is looking at this as being an option for them. So that's 70% of the next generation that are younger than 30, so they're 28 and below, are saying that they're willing to buy with someone. So why is that changing? Do you all have any suggestions or like thoughts that come to mind? Like, why would the younger generation think this is my option?
It's just too expensive.
Too expensive,
Mhm.
right? Anything else that comes to mind?
The suburbs are isolating.
The suburbs are isolating.
People want to have their friends around. Why not?
Definitely. So yeah, I mean, living in community feels way better than being on our own. But here are some of the myths that contribute to what our current home buyers and homeowners think. So one, I have to wait until I'm married to buy a house, right? Which could be never. It could be, right? Because some of us are choosing to stay on our own, so that could make homeownership never happen. Some people believe you have to save 20% to buy a house. And Carol, do we need 20% to buy?
No, not at all.
Okay.
It's a big myth that's been happening since I got into loans over 20 years ago.
Okay. What is the minimum that someone would need if they want to buy? Oh, go ahead.
So typically it's about 3.5% minimum. There's programs that can make it close to 0%. There's a lot of creative ways that Jennifer and I have helped buyers in the past where it's come to 0%. You can potentially have a seller contribute. You can have a lender credit. You can use layer different assistance programs. And that's been like my whole career is I've looked and searched for different programs as they change and evolve on that we could help people utilize to get in the door.
Yeah. So no, you don't need 20%.
Right.
And then also this we're hearing a lot, which is I will never be able to buy, right? Not with that attitude.
Right.
But how do all these things, I mean, all these myths that are going around, how do they impact how we currently think about what homeownership looks like? Well, we see it as there's an order to things, right? We see it as like, it's going to be impossible and there's no point. But what buying collectively is bringing up more of is one, buying collectively is when two or more people are pulling together their resources, which makes a huge difference when we're not just talking about how to get in, but we're also talking about, the price of the mortgage, the down payment. You're also, talking to your neighbors or whoever you're buying with about, you're being transparent, talking about your credit, talking about your goals, and also sharing a vision of what could this look like? What could community between us look like, even if it's just two people? And then also creating community agreements together. But when we're talking about sharing costs, this is when we can actually see, all right, what is the impact of us buying together, whether it's 2, 3, or 4 people. Let's say it's just you or it's just me. And these are bigger numbers, right? Carol shared in some cases you could just put 3.5% down. But in these cases that are up here, this is if you're putting 5%, 10%, or 20% down. Now, actually, currently, the average home in LA, as of last month, is selling for $1 million. All right. And in Northeast LA, that number is actually higher. It's 1.2 million, and some other experts would say 1.3. So this neighborhood is higher than the median house price. But if we're looking at this and we're not actually counting in closing costs, one person, in order to put 5%, would need to put and come up with 51,000. That's just for the deposit. That doesn't include closing costs. That also doesn't include repairs that the house might need. Now, what happens if there's two people that are buying? And we're assuming in this case that they're splitting it together, right? So you as one person would need to put, gather together $25,500 just to put 5%. But all that looks a lot different, right? And now if we're doing 3 people, it looks a little bit more attainable. And if we're doing 4 people, it looks a lot more attainable. Right. Anything you want to add?
Yeah, I mean, it when you put it down to like 1 or 2 people, it looks a little challenging, but there's always things that you can do creatively to bring those numbers down. But it's great to kind of get a good picture of it, and it looks like Jen put it together well here.
But when people are buying, at least in these examples, we're splitting it equally. Do people have to split it equally?
They don't. I mean, I've seen people, one person be the income that, they're contributing because their income is stable and they can qualify. Everybody has to have a decent credit score to be on there. Some people, another myth that we kind of miss is that you have to have perfect credit. The truth is you can get in on a home loan with a 580 credit score. There's programs with, assistance that come with 620, 640. So if it comes down to it, somebody could be the down payment or a portion of it and bring in income as a stability to the loan.
Definitely. So like in this example, Juan is the one that's bringing all the down payment in. And the other 3 people are the ones that are bringing the good credit, are bringing the stable jobs. And in this example, well, one person is paying half, the other a quarter, one 10%, but everybody is contributing what they can in order to make it happen, right? So, there's different ways that you can structure a partnership, and it's based on what each person is bringing into making it possible. Okay, but that's just to get in, right? Like I mentioned, there are other expenses that can also be shared. And it's important to mention, you're also sharing the insurance costs, and just everything that comes within the mortgage, but maintenance and repairs, that's another thing, right? Like if you need a new roof, now it's not just you thinking about the repair, you're also splitting those things up, and continued maintenance. And the other thing that we're seeing is in community buying or co-buying, you're also sharing the responsibilities of a household, right? Even whether you're living in the same house or you're living in 4 different units, somebody still has to roll out the bins, but you're still sharing the overall burden of running a household. The upkeep. All right, so we're going to go over some examples of what this looks like in real life, right? So we have 5 different examples. One is of a newly married couple, and instead of buying their starter home, they decided, let's buy a house big enough to share with other people. Another one is going to be of this new term that is called mommune. So it's basically a mom commune, but the new term is mommune. Another example is going to be of 2 single mothers that moved into a 4-plex and how they built community. And then another is of 20 adults that decided to buy and grow their community. And that's here in California. And then the last example is going to be of Shanich, which Miguel is going to come up and share about that. Great idea. All right, so before we get into the real life examples, just want to make sure that everyone understands the terms that we're going to be going over, because they will be mentioned in the clips. So house hacking. Does anybody know what house hacking is or have an example of it? Know anybody that does it? No? All right, so this is a new term. Okay.
Do ADUs count?
They could, yeah. A section of your home is being rented.
You're renting out like rooms.
That's another thing. You're renting out rooms. That's what she said. Yeah, so that's an option. Oh, she said you're renting out rooms. So house hacking it could be that somebody is living in your unit, so in your home, or it could be a different unit. So let's say you bought a duplex, you're living in one and you're renting out the other, or you could have a single family home and you're renting by the room. But the point of house hacking is that you own and live in one section of the home while you're also renting out another section. And that makes your housing a lot more affordable because now you're sharing the expenses with someone else. So here is a couple that decided, all right, for our first home, we're newlyweds. Let's, instead of buying a single family home where it's just us two, let's buy something big enough to get roommates.
Welcome to our crib. So, Walker, Nina, I just want to address this as the first thing we talk about. You did what everyone said not to do. You rented your rooms to friends. Why'd you do that?
Yeah, you know, Chris, Walker was really the one who wanted to try house hacking. This was our first home that we purchased together as a couple. And he was really set on getting a house that had more than 2 bedrooms. You know, everyone says starter homes, like, oh, you expect like a 2-bed, 1-bath. And Walker was adamant we had a bigger place so we could rent out to roommates. And I was really, really hesitant about it.
That's not romantic? So marriages are partnerships, and so is running a house hack. How'd you guys do it? And assign roles and divide and conquer.
Yeah, so like I mentioned, Walker was really kind of the spearhead behind the whole house hacking strategy and how are we going to build a real estate portfolio. It's not something I was ever familiar with. His family has a real estate background, mine doesn't. But when we decided to get this house, the really big selling point for him was I was going to have the autonomy of who lived with us, which was my biggest concern. Kind of like, I didn't want to have random roommates. And there's certain things about having roommates that I was really particular about. So he really gave me free reign on picking who could live with us. And I was also not interested in any of like the landlord tasks and responsibilities. And he was more than happy to kind of take that over. So I feel like it worked out really well for us. I was more interested in like the social, who's going to live with us. Walker was more interested in the business side of this whole ordeal. Would you agree? What do you think?
I would agree. And then we also took a lot of time together to put together a roommate agreement.
Yeah.
And focus on what was important to us and what we were holding ourselves to, as well as our roommates. Mm-hmm. And I will say that was probably the cleanest our house has ever been with that roommate agreement, because we were very particular on how long to leave dishes in and everything like that.
The number of single mothers in this country is on a steady rise. And while the U.S. has the highest rate of children living in single-parent households, Americans are also much less likely to live in extended families than anywhere else in the world. A reality that has some parents and their children looking for other options.
We knew that we would be happier no matter what happened if we all combined.
It just was such a good opportunity that there was no reason not to.
It was 4 years ago that Kim Neff came to her kids, Samantha and Jackson, with an idea, the same one that Crystal Terry presented to her son, Shane.
I remember the day my mom told me. I was instantly excited.
The two moms met when their boys were in the same first grade class, and years later went through separations and divorces around the same time. In 2019, they decided they would be better off living together.
You thought, okay, so this will be better for us financially.
Right.
We can share the rent, share the utilities, share the groceries.
Right.
You can help with childcare. I'm at the office, you're at home. Did you think of it also as emotional support? Well,
absolutely.
Yeah. But I didn't realize that would be such a big benefit of it until we moved in together. There's another adult here that understands what I'm facing, what I'm going through. Like the component that you have in a marriage, but without the romantic piece of
Yeah,
it has been huge.
We live on a commune by the lake.
The term commune has become a popular way to describe two or more moms living together with their children. A newer hashtag, but not a new concept.
After I divorced out of a 17-year marriage, okay, I'm suddenly raising my son on my own. And it didn't feel right. Like, you know, where's my tribe?
22 years ago, Carmel Boss decided to interview other single mothers with the hope of finding another family to share her home.
I found somebody with my own, you know, priorities and philosophy, and but then these other 17 all wanted to do the same thing, you know? And I had this list, and I thought, one's got a 3-year-old, one's got a 4-year-old, they live in the same neighborhood. I'm just going to call them back and introduce them to each other.
Once you found your own match, you started matching other people you'd interviewed with one another.
Yeah.
Soon after, Carmel founded Co-Abode, an organization that matches single mothers who want to share a home or support each other in other ways. And she says traffic to the website is skyrocketing.
So this is, in a way, an old-fashioned village concept, really, from the back of time. But it seems to be taking on more urgency or more popularity right now. Why do you think that is?
I think the two pain points that it resolves, the economic struggles that people are having, and then just the emotional, the disconnection that occurred in the last 3 years in particular.
According to the U.S. Census Bureau, 80% of single-parent families in the U.S. are headed by single mothers, and 23% of them live below the poverty line. Without this living arrangement, Kim and Crystal say their lives would look very different.
I wouldn't be building for any kind of future if I was trying to pull this off on my own. It'd be a paycheck to paycheck circumstance.
How do you implement boundaries, or do you? Do you say, like, okay, this is my family, and this is my family, and this is my space, and my space?
We talk about that all the time, that this is our space.
Yeah.
It's not your space, it's our space.
Yeah.
And it works for us. I love it.
A shared space and a true village.
At any given moment, I have people I can talk to, laugh with. We do a lot of laughing.
Karen Hopper, Leandra Nicola, Holly Harper, and Jen Jacobs all say they found their dream home here in Tacoma Park, Maryland. But for them, it's not just about location, it's about living together, kids and all.
They go out and practice their flips on the trampoline, and it's just the most fun.
The idea for this full house came from Holly and Heron, close friends who went through divorces at the same time.
Holly and I really just said, why not? We were in individual apartments. We were kind of tired of paying rent and dealing with the logistics of being single parents.
My marriage ended, and then I had a couple of really significant losses. And then in early 2020, my dad died. Just like my life was burned to the ground. And so I could turn to Heron and say, I literally have nothing left. Let's just do this.
They started searching, finding the perfect house on day one and closing in June of 2020. They just needed more people to share it with.
I posted in the neighborhood listserv, hey, 2 single moms bought this house. You know, we have a basement unit for rent. Leandra messaged right away and said, I want in.
Leandra, tell me about that decision then.
Part of just trying to find a way to have a stable place to live as a single mom, and then had all the perks of this amazing built-in support system.
Then Holly and Heron's friend Jen also moved in.
The pandemic had been, 6 months into it, and I was just not feeling in a good place and just feeling really cut off. And then finally, in October of 2020, that was my decision, I gotta get out.
So how's the place set up? Do you each have your own kitchen and bathrooms?
It's a 4-unit building, so there's a front door, and from there you access directly sort of Holly's unit. Upstairs is mine, and then on top of mine is Jen's. And then you can go to the basement and access Leandra's.
The 4 split the cost of household expenses and hold monthly meetings to talk business or about any conflicts, which they say are rare.
This is probably a loaded question, but for those of us who are married, we're like, oh, how does that work? Sometimes I'll joke with my husband that I need a wife. I need somebody to help me. I just need,
Come on. The simplest example is every Monday night is garbage night, and only probably once a month do I do it? Because someone else has done it. And it's like, oh my God, I live with women.
Well, they say it takes a village, and you guys actually have created your own village, right?
I hang out with their children, then they'll hang out with mine.
I can just say, hey, I'm going to go for a run. And there's always a grown-up on site.
They've even given their home a name, Siren House, after the mythical female creature.
Siren is a form of sort of feminist power. We're building a community that we sort of have the siren song, so we bring people together.
Case in point, Leandra and Jen.
They fell in love. And now they're together.
It's true.
Wait, is this for real? Like, seriously?
Yeah.
Yes. So one night I was hanging out. I'm not going to tell the whole thing. I was just saying one night.
Can I go on the record and please have the movie rights to this true love story?
Not only that, the women also helped Leandra open a cafe nearby called Main Street Pearl.
To be in a place where you can like really trust the people around you who are going to always have you. It's like that is something that I didn't know I could ever have. So,
is there anything you want people to know about what you've learned from this experience?
You can do whatever you want. Yeah. Burn the rule book of life and just look at it differently.
I love that you guys are living fearlessly.
I think that the big takeaway for me is that there is sort of unconditional love. I could be my worst self, I could be my best self. They see me for who I am, and it's all okay.
How's it going?
Hi.
Thanks for coming
It's
by.
great back here.
Yeah.
I was expecting it to be in front. It's like yeah. Wow. Okay, so I didn't expect it to be on the back of the street. So were you looking for something in the back?
This is actually one big property. Actually, this building, and that building are all a part of it. And then it's this crazy property that goes all the way back there. So it's a really unique property for being, in a city. And we felt lucky to have found it.
So you were just looking for somewhere that you could live with friends? I mean, I guess who does that? Looks with friends for property?
Yeah, we were living in San Francisco at the time in like a big house. Okay. So there's 9 bedrooms, there's 11 of us living there. We're like, this is great. We're having the time of our life, but we sort of saw this thing on the horizon, which was our friends were talking about like having kids. And we're like, that's not gonna work in the big house. So we need like a new space. We need like a new container for the community. So we went out looking for a property that we thought had enough space for like kids and had like separate private units that people could like live in together.
Because really you're on a pretty conventional street. I mean, this is single family houses.
Yeah, it was a really neat property.
So you were looking just in urban, but kind of residential.
Yeah. We needed somewhere that was commutable to San Francisco, but had enough space for different families to live together.
Okay, so you found, how many units here do we see behind you?
The whole sort of complex is 10 homes. It's spread across 6 buildings. 4 units in this building right here. 2 units in this building. That's a single family home. And then we built 2 more buildings over there. And there's a big house in the back there too. So it's 6 buildings, 10 homes, 20 adults, and 5, soon to be 6 kids.
There were that many houses next to each other that were for sale?
No, there were not. So this is an evolution over time. Okay. And so what we started with was this building, which is a 4-plex. Okay. There's 4 apartments, and that back house. And so the back house is a single family home with 5 bedrooms. And over time, we've been able to sort of gradually expand. And so we got very lucky. This came for sale over the last 6 years, and the house next to it came for sale. And so those were purchased to sort of expand as we expanded. And we built these 2 buildings from scratch.
And did you know when you came in that there would be space to build?
Well, we knew there was space. What there actually wasn't was the regulation to allow it. So when we first moved in here, we weren't allowed to build these buildings. And then the regulation actually changed over the time we were here. And so the law that changed was something called an ADU law. So both of these buildings are legally ADUs.
Both of the gray buildings are ADUs? Yeah. They're huge. How big?
1,000 square feet.
Okay, so it goes up to 1,000. I would assume that's the maximum?
Yeah. I think actually it's now 1,200, but it was 1,000 when we were doing this.
They look big.
Yeah.
They feel bigger than an ADU.
Yeah, so this one's a 2-bedroom, 2-bath building that our friends designed it themselves. And so the ADUs are sort of big enough for a family.
So you enclosed this area. You didn't enclose everything. I mean,
Yeah.
you could have done the whole driveway.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of cars being part of the living space. And so we sort of put the cars outside the fence and we put everything else inside the fence. And so the kids can run around with no risk of getting hit by a vehicle. Sort of creates like a enclosed private space.
So you have, here we have, this is an ADU. This is a single family.
Yeah. So we sort of have this 1 yard here, which you'll see in about an hour, the kids will come out and it's really their space. Over here, we sort of have the adults' yard. So this is like the spa area. So we got the hot tub, we got the sauna, we got the cold plunge. The hot tub is obviously like one of the big draws that helps get people to move in here. Like, we have a hot tub. It's the sort of thing you can maintain with a big group of people. Like, I don't recommend having a hot tub by yourself. It's a lot. It's expensive.
Dinner, we have 6 nights a week that we eat dinner together. It's optional, obviously. And then we just circulate who cooks.
This is something we discovered a few years in. We used to basically have a cooking rotation where everyone did a shift. But it turns out some people are better cooks than others. I'm the worst cook in the building. And so no one wants to eat my food. I don't really want to cook it either. And so we came up with a system where instead of cooking, you could basically contribute to a chef who's actually just a friend of the community who cooks for us. And so we pay Julie, and Julie sort of cooks on our behalf if we don't want to cook or don't have time to cook. Hi, how are you? What are you making?
I'm making chocolate tahini Rice Krispie treats.
Yeah, you are.
And you're cooking for how many?
I cooked for 20. 15 with leftovers is, I think, the agreement.
Yeah. So like divided by 20, we can afford Julie. Individually, we wish we could afford Julie.
So this is just a little living room, shared living room.
Yeah, and people kind of work up here. I think a lot of the opportunity for kind of this, if you live with a lot of people, you have your own private space. You have a lot of variety of public space. You have this, which is like watching movies, downstairs kitchen. So you have the fire pit that's outside, you have the hot tub that people can hang out in. And so it may feel like you're living with a lot of people, but there's actually a lot of places to retreat to that actually just aren't your private space. So you also have your private space.
Okay, the next topic is going to be co-stewarding. So actually Miguel is going to come up and talk more about co-stewarding.
Thank you. Yeah, what an honor to participate in this and also share a little bit something that's close to home. Next slide. Oh, there you go. So I'm part of a cooperative land care group. We call ourselves Chanich. We formed 9 of us. We formed to purchase this property. And it was similar to like what you were saying, Jennifer, about the values. And our values was like reclaiming our indigenous connection to land. And so our priority was to like be able to take care of land, to eventually be able to take care of ourselves, you know? And so, and we before even, you know, being able to purchase this land, we did a lot of studying. We did a year of just like meeting over Zoom during the pandemic. And just like, we called it land liberation studies, where we just talk about what it meant for collective living and how we could pursue something together. And so we came up with all these like parameters that may help us like really think about how we're gonna move forward with this vision, you know? So we're like, oh, it should be no more than 2 hours away from LA. It should have its own water. We should have a relationship to a community there or land right there. And so in this case, it wasn't really about the housing for us, but it was an opportunity for us to come together. And the property does have a house on it. And it just so happens that our elder that actually like kind of sparked like, hey, y'all should like start thinking about how are you going to take care of yourselves when this thing happens over and over, like these pandemics or, you know, wildfires or torrential, the water, the rain? The atmospheric rivers now, like all these different things that have been happening. And so that was a conversation that ended up sparking. We ended up identifying this property and we were like, okay, our strategy is to like have the people with the stable income and, you know, good credit be on the deed of purchasing and just like pretty much taking the property off the market, and then everybody that's going to contribute for the down payment, we're going to be forming an LLC with them. And then the reason, and so I'm glad that, there's a question that brought up around environmental justice, and so for us, it's like, we really want this space for us to like practice our ceremonies. We want a space for us to like be able to like have this for generations to come, to make that relationship to land, to plants, to medicines, to our traditions. And then also like the question around like the entity, and so we know that corporations, like, they're like the strongest, we know that they're the strongest like entity that gets away with so much things. And we're like, wait, this is a tool that like these people use against our communities. Like, let's use the same tool to protect ourselves, which is what it does. It's a limited liability company, right? And so we're like, we ended up creating a LLC that we're gonna eventually and have everybody who contributed to purchase the land, we're gonna be transferring that deed over to the LLC. And so that's kind of the why we formed and how we formed, and the formation that we have as a LLC. And the idea is, we're continuing to pay off the land, and we have, and then an important aspect, and I'm glad you brought it up too, is the community agreements, and for us, it's really important to like be able to establish these agreements. But more than anything, it's like really the community part, like you were mentioning, Joe, like the community aspect that I think it's a lot of people kind of stray away from, especially when it comes to conflict, Unfortunately, half of the membership of Chanich are elders that help us and guide us through these tough times, these tough conversations. And, the very fortunate thing is that most of the people that are part of Chanich live in LA, and most of the people that stay up at Chanich are elders. And our connection to the land right there is that our elder, her grandkids live on the reservation that's like a mile away. And so that was like our connection, so like, we're like, okay, we have a connection to the land there. We have family there. And so that was why we decided to land on this spot. And, and so it's been a beautiful journey, and we do a lot of different programming. We've done family bike rides. I know Dalia's been on one of them. We've done like traditional cooking. We host ceremonies, and it's just an opportunity for us to, continue to relive and remember our traditional practices. And the idea is eventually build like an indigenous retreat center that we could host our communities, especially when it comes to, disasters here in LA. Like some members of Chanich live in Altadena, and when the fire hit, they got evacuation orders, and they were able to make it to Chanich and be safe. And we have other friends that were impacted in the Hollywood fire, and we're like, hey, you could come to Chanich, And so it's already been proven to be a space for safety and connection to land. But yeah, that's an example. Another example that I could share is different in terms of like, housing, but it's definitely something that we want to do, like more Adobe style homes, like earth domes. There's a lot of adobe or clay and the soil there, and so we're looking to do that type of work there. But any other questions before moving forward? Yes.
Thank you for sharing. I was wondering, you said you're going to transfer the deed to the LLC.
Yes.
Is that like a legal thing that has to happen, or you just like, I don't know?
Yeah, so that's actually a really good question for the lender too, because we've actually we've had a lot of conversations because everybody gave different amounts. So we actually had to we had to get a CPA to help us. We had to get a lawyer to help us draft the LLC that includes the agreements. And our agreements are a little bit different because we want to embrace, indigenous knowledge, which is like, how do we embrace those protocols of being with each other? And then we have a living protocol document, which are the things that we that we don't like. We're zero waste. We don't want to take plastic up there. We don't want to, we want to contribute to the earth there. We want to heal. We want people to come and heal. And so those aren't like in our, the LLC agreement stuff, all that is kind of like more contractual information. But yeah, the LLC, the process, and we've talked to a lender as well, and the idea is for us to build up 2 years of just like clear financials of like that the LLC is that we're all the people that are stakeholders are contributing to the LLC for our account. And so that account is showing that there's transactions coming in, coming out. There's pretty much money that is available that could continue paying off the loan that we're doing. And so that's the idea, is for us to transfer the deed to the LLC. But we've also been like looking at lots of different grants just to help us pay off the land straight up, And so especially doing this indigenous work, especially when it comes to like POC, indigenous governed, spaces, I think there's a lot of like funding out there, and like, so we're looking for funding as well to do this type of work. But yeah, and I know the lender, and there's other, maybe other requirements, of like what it means to like actually transfer a deed. I don't know if you want to talk about that.
Well, and a lot of the times why somebody would do that would be to get those benefits that he talked about. There's all these loopholes that these corporations are using to displace families. And so in the same respect, if we can educate ourselves to do these different things like they're doing with, Shanich, right? Then you're able to take advantage of these different things and make it a more profitable way to pay things off, and re-qualify to do different things, whether it be getting more loans to build on, or again, the tax loopholes, right? Because those are there for us to learn about them and take advantage of them, because that's the ability that these corporations, they get to not pay or skip on something or pay into the future and not pay now. So there's all these different loopholes, and that's what the benefits are to moving, these titles or the ownership into the LLC's name, and also making the LLC look profitable so that they can continue advancing and doing different things with that money and those investments, and show a win, right? That you're in the black, per se,
When you're thinking of entities and just LLC was there, will you also implement like I'm just wondering why like did you choose it over community land trust, and are there like benefits to LLC that aren't like in the community land trust? Like I think in community land trust you don't have to pay property taxes, right? You have to pay property taxes.
Oh yeah.
Yes, we definitely do have to pay property taxes, and I think for us, why we didn't end up taking that route is because with the development of a community land trust, you need a board, and the board can make decisions and does everything. And so what we really wanted to do is actually have people that contributed be the decision makers at first. Maybe down the line, like we've already started talking about like, do we become a nonprofit and lease the nonprofit, like have the nonprofit lease the land from our LLC so we get a tax write-off. So we're thinking about all the different ways and loopholes that we could be able to utilize the land, be able to tap into resources, and so I think our ability is like, yeah, we're considering those different aspects, but I think we're like, that's the strongest protections for the land, for the individuals part of it, and that we ensure that, if for some reason a board changes, that it doesn't, the entity or the land itself doesn't change, and that we continue to have it for generations. So, yeah. You had another question or no?
Back this.
Oh yeah, I asked her.
And then we'll go to you next.
I'm interested about the land stewardship portion, specifically the building processes of things. I have experience and I've tended land with communities before, and familiar with when we remember to do protocol and that process. So we're making sure we're tending the land intentionally versus okay, we're just gonna go today, but I'm curious now like I'm very interested in the building aspect of it.
Yeah.
Have y'all been finding like how do you I know like there's things to share, not share, but like how do you be like intentional with the process of building as well? And so like okay, we're gonna use adobe material and we're just gonna build it out. But like experience of like, okay, this is where we're gonna place it, this is how we're gonna like start our day, our work day, and then like build it.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's going to like niche, but I don't know, like have y'all thought about that experience with that?
Yeah, so there's, for everywhere you go, there's building code, and there's always zoning as well. And so we're in an area where it's rural agricultural. And so there are loopholes. You could do bed and breakfast in rural agricultural. You could do land worker or like farm worker homes. And so that's kind of like the idea, the route that we want to take. But we also don't want to create like the example before of just like overdeveloped, right? We want the land to be something that's preserved. And so we're really thinking about doing the smallest footprint for just our lodging. Like you're saying, like renting out a room, we just want to build little rooms. And right now the code is like if you build something smaller than in this county, 10 by 12, then you're good to, you don't need a code or anything like that. You don't need to like take out a permit. So as long as you build within that parameter, which I think we're like, yeah, we just want a place to sleep, and then we're gonna be on the land the whole time, And your question about like protocols, we're always thinking about whenever we do anything, we always consult the in this case we're in Tulioka lands, so it's in up by the Sequoia National Forest, and then right there, we're connected to. No worries. Don't forget the alarm. Don't forget. It's all good. But yeah, so that's important, and we always do different things. Our protocols are different, and they're aligned to the indigenous teachings of these lands, and we just want to honor those in that way. So good question. Yes?
Can you kind of go back real quick to, I think I just missed it, you were explaining how, or actually you remind me if I got this wrong, when you were describing the LLC and developing the LLC, and then how that leads to removing it from the market.
Yes.
Like that, and just like a follow-up question to that. I think it's a bigger typical thing. Like if you form an LLC, are there examples that you know of where the LLC actually transfers over the land to a community land trust? Like, or can a land trust actually buy out like the property on the LLC? Like, are there examples of that?
Yeah, we see a lot, especially on like land returns, like land back returns. It's always like an entity, an organization, or a person that ends up giving so what it is, the LLC just becomes they're almost like a person. But the thing is, you can't hold them liable for anything. You can't go after me. You can't go after anybody because we're made up this entity of the LLC. And so we thought, as we start inviting people, we should be protected and create an LLC in that way. It's the easiest way to create protection without having to do all this legal stuff, right? And then we did a lot of legal stuff to get there, but to eventually a community land trust, right? And so that, we would need to form a board. And I think right at this point, we were like, okay, let's just do it, stick it with us first, and build that structure and figure out what it is that we want to do before we explore anything else.
Okay. Oh, go ahead.
Joe, and then the person in the back, Andres.
As the LLC, are you guys a housing co-op, or is there a specific type of LLC you guys are?
It's just an LLC. It's just the basic general LLC that we formed. And then I think what we formed it under was like a lease space rental, because we're like, oh yeah, maybe eventually we'll do a retreat space, or it could be glamping, or just different things. Andres.
Really appreciate everything y'all are doing together in this atmosphere, and
you know, as we're building relationships, things can get complicated, especially as we're communicating across different generations or different concepts. Like even with like studies, or even if you do this for a living, these are really complicated things, right?
Yes.
What are best practices that you all have? What are like ways that you all are in relationship with one another to make this communicable and understandable to each other, to your members, to everyone who makes up this community? You know,
Yeah.
so everyone's kind of in it together.
Great question. I'm so glad you asked. You know, again, half of our membership, as I mentioned, are elders. You know, so we host 3 meetings a month. We do seasonal in-person gatherings, and we do ceremony together. So we do ceremony to think about like whether we have to like address a conflict or someone's going through something tough. So one is like building that relationship and being vulnerable with each other. And just like being able to communicate conflict directly to the person. You know, I think that's something that we try to do. As we built our relationship, we had to build that trust, you know. And another important thing is what we call turquoise time. And it's a time for people to step back if they need to, because there's a lot to do. It's 40 acres of land. And, you know, we're doing a lot of native plant restoration. It requires a lot of labor. And so sometimes people it could be too much. And so at this point, we have turquoise time where we're like, we want members to actually take an opportunity to step back if you're doing too much. And then maybe someone could step forward. And we're practicing that, you know? And so that's something that's really been helpful for us, especially because everybody's going through it. Everybody's going through it in different parts of their lives. And so we want to integrate, how do we show up with understanding and grace as we're doing this hard work, which is like being in community, being really remembering our ways of indigenous living. Another thing that we also formed is we have committees, but we call them bands. So again, to like remember that connection to our tribal living, and you know, tribal nations have bands. The band of the San Gabriel, so you know, so there's different bands within a tribe. And so for us, we think of our committees as bands. So there's the Care Bear band, there's the Rock Accountants, there's the Path band, which is like deals with everything like accountant and LLC. The Care Bears is maintenance and land love, or just like, you know, the care that we do on the land. We have the Beehive band, which is all the administration, which is like, hey, we'll facilitate the meetings, and we'll coordinate the agenda for all of our meetings. And so that kind of division of labor, and us being able to like not be in this like committee mode, because it's really easy to be like, let's be in this committee, but also building that trust to know that the bands are moving with intention to think about all of us. And so the ideas that they present their recommendations per se, right? And so seasonally, we have an opportunity to present recommendations. Oh, this is a priority for the Care Bear band. Oh, this is a priority for, we also have another band, it's called the Canil band, which is the seed. Like, what are the things we want to seed for the land, or want to seed for ourselves on the land? So
I think one last question.
Yes, one last question, because we have.
Do you guys have any advice on buying a property that's not for sale, but you want to buy it from your landlord? So you and your neighbors can basically just have that and not go to a bank or whatever. Asking for a friend. Asking for a friend.
Yes.
I think Jennifer can answer this one.
Yes. So it would depend what relationship you have with your landlord already, if you're in conversations or not. But there are some landlords who years in advance start planning for retirement, you know, and selling their home could be part of their retirement plan. So they might be like, all right, I'm selling it in the next 8 years. That gives you time to prepare. But first starting that conversation with them to see if they're willing to sell is one. And you kind of mentioned, like, instead of going to a bank, there are people that approach homeowners and ask, can I assume your loan? If the loan is assumable. Which loans are assumable, Carol?
In my experience, the VA loans are typically the most assumable. But banks are not excited about assumable loans because there's no way to vet that this person will pay back, right? So when you're lending hundreds of thousands of dollars or close to $1 million, they always want to look at, can this person pay it back and is it sustainable? So in the times that I've had somebody say, hey, this seller's willing to give me their rate and their loan, the lender kind of doesn't move their feet to get that done. They want you to requalify. So that was kind of why Jen was saying that we try to think outside the box and collect multiple people to qualify for this particular loan. So you're technically, it's still a lender, it's still a bank, if you will. It's a lender. You requalify and you try to buy it. That's my ultimate suggestion because most times, like I mentioned, even if the seller is willing to do something like that, it's their bank that has to say, okay, I'll transfer it to you. And they are the hardest to communicate with when it comes to that assumable loan.
What is an assumable?
Well, an assumable loan would be like, let's say they have a current loan on it. They bought it when the interest rates were much lower, and you're taking over the payments.
It's almost like transferring it.
Yeah, they're like transferring it, but then you have to figure out how you pay the difference.
Yeah.
So. Yeah.
Or if they have it paid off.
Or if they have it paid off, there's also seller financing you can negotiate too.
Right.
Yeah. But they're still going to want a down payment and they're still going to want monthly payments. Yeah.
Right. You could get their contact information and I'm sure you can have somebody like Jen to reach out and start that open communication for them.
Yeah. And just to also share a personal story, my partner, that's actually how she acquired her property, was approaching her landlord and saying, hey, I'm interested in buying. And they came up with a plan, and it was a 4-year plan. And she, had to save up a lot of money, looked at, well, where do I have savings? Used her 401k, asked her parents, in order to be able to qualify to buy this home. And that's where we live now. So. Yeah, so you can do that.
Yes.
And then next we're gonna move on to LA Mas's role in collective purchasing, and Melissa's gonna share something very quickly about what LA Mas is doing in terms of housing.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. Buenas noches. Thank you all for being here. My name is Melissa. I am a team member with LA Mas, Director of Community Tending, but I also facilitate the Northeast Los Angeles Community Housing Alliance, which is a coalition space where working class neighbors can come to the meetings, allies can come to the meetings, experts, housing experts, whatnot. Just any folk. Oh yeah, there's a hummingbird that's stuck in here. We're gonna address it. Yeah, that's done. So it's a space to really imagine and guide our work. Our work, the way we talk about it is community housing. So it's our program, and many people have said like, wait, are you all a land trust? We're not officially a land trust. We share land trust values. We are actively working on community governance. We, with Jennifer, just launched our first residence committee meeting at our Hancock property. Come say hi to me at the table before you leave, and you can learn more about some of the properties that we've acquired. We're at number 3 now. In the past 2 years, we have some community members here who are living in our community housing projects now. And also our work and our program is guided by community. Because as you heard, Jennifer, the cost of living and the median average home price is so inaccessible for our communities. Our community members were like, okay, if we can't purchase collectively at the moment, or if we can't buy a home, if that's kind of a long shot at the moment, like what is LA Mas going to do to support us in stabilizing our units and providing permanent affordability. So those are values, right, that a land trust model embodies. The only difference is like we are not a land trust, and we do creative financing. Helen is here if you have any more like technical questions on creative financing. But that's like foundations. We're co-owners with Self-Help Ventures Fund. So trying to be more like fluid, right, and find those options to be able to stabilize the homes of our neighbors here in Northeast LA. So that's a little bit about our community housing program. Our first NALACHA meeting, which you are welcome to join us and learn more about, is January 27th. And really that's like a thinking space, right? Like, okay, how are we gonna keep taking more housing off the market? And how are we gonna do it together? So that's LA Mass and community housing.
Awesome, thank you.
So we brought up the land trust model, but I know there's experts in the room. So I'm gonna ask you all, what are some of the things that we know about community land trust? And if you can really try and project so our interpreter can hear your beautiful responses.
What is a community?
Yeah, what is a community land trust?
Community Land Trust is it's a nonprofit organization that is used as a vehicle to purchase properties, whether that's land, a house, just empty lots, and then it's kept affordable for lifetime.
For generations to come. Yeah. Joe?
And how it's kept affordable is that the land now is off the market. So usually the price of a building it costs more because there's all these speculation of like, oh, I can turn this into luxury, I can turn this into whatever, right? Whatever capitalist corporate interest has. But we're saying, no, we're gonna actually take the land off the market. So that's not gonna impact the value per se as much as it staying in the market. And that's usually community land trust will lease, then we'll have a lease for 99 years or whatever it is. So in the building itself.
Yeah, beautiful. And how are community land trusts governed? Like, what does their governing structure look like based on your experiences?
Well, the land trust itself is a regular nonprofit with a board and staff if there's enough funding for them. But then the properties that the community land trust acquires, it can take all different types of forms, like a cooperative, like if it was a multi-unit or multi-family housing, then we can form a cooperative around it where the tenants are actually like the owners of the actual building, and or it can be a lease-back situation where the community land trust is leasing the property to some other entity. It can be a community group, it can be another organization, and so there's the way the community is involved can take different forms.
Yep. There's different CLT structures, community land trust structures. Yeah.
Thank you all. Oh, yeah.
With the fires and also as part of the kind of event, we're supporting the community in keeping the properties in community, keeping the land in community, and oh, I'm blanking. As part of the and so some of the people who like for example lost their homes, right? There's one couple who doesn't have any heirs, and they would actually want to donate their land to the community land trust because they want to keep it with the community and keep it affordable. And right now with all these, developers and, it's so important for the community.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Was everyone able to? Okay. Good. Yeah. I mean, that's it's important especially as we're hearing in Altadena that a lot of people are being approached to sell or being texted, called, harassed to sell. The community land trusts are forming, or one is forming in the area that is looking at purchasing land. Yeah. So it's a way of thinking of like, how can we all as a community own and keep this land affordable for generations to come?
Thank you.
Thank you.
For me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. So next we're going to go over just taking title. So this is a little bit more, we went over the examples of what it looks like, the different models, right? There's so many different models. The point is we can all get creative together. And but when we're talking about like, all right, we bought this property, now how are we owning this collectively? Especially when you're buying with other people, there are two main ways to buy it. So there's joint tenancy, which means that basically whoever buys it together, you all own this home equally together. And if one person passes, the other owners receive that person's ownership split equally. So we would call it the right of survivorship, right? So the people that are still alive take ownership of when someone passes. And the difference between joint tenancy and tenants in common is that with tenants in common, you don't have to split it all equally. So in this example, you can see that one person owns 20%, the other 30%, the other 60%, right? And so they don't have equal ownership. But the other thing is that each person can choose to will or sell their portion of their ownership. And so actually before you purchase, that's one thing that you can discuss, right? Like let's say you bought a fourplex. In the fourplex, one of the units has 3 bedrooms. The other units are 1 bedroom. You can discuss different levels of ownership, right? Because now maybe the person buying the larger unit is putting in more money and they're also paying a larger portion of the mortgage. But there's also just tenants in common listings that are on their own, and this is what I mean when you're buying with strangers, like you're buying a portion of a property with other strangers. But this is not as common. But this is a listing that I found on Facebook, where somebody was advertising it within a group and saying, hey, this is a listing I have. And normally these are, so if you think about buying a condo, this is actually a little bit cheaper than buying a condo, but it's harder to finance because there's only 2 lenders in Southern California that are willing to finance this, and they ask for larger down payments. So as Carol had mentioned, normally you can buy with like 3.5%, but in these cases you'd have to put 25% down or as low as 15%, which is still higher than buying either a single family home or a multifamily using traditional financing. Yeah. No. No, I'm good. And then also, they had mentioned when you own as a nonprofit, then the way that you're splitting up ownership is normally the CLT will own the land, and then the residents will either own or rent the home that's on top of the land. And we kind of mentioned this throughout all of the examples, and also Chanich, right? They came up with either community agreements, but the main thing, the legal term would be operating agreements. And this is a legal document where you're going over every little detail, right? So you're going over, what happens if somebody defaults, if somebody is not able to make a payment, or if somebody is not paying the property taxes or their portion, Like what do the rest of the owners do in that case? You also want to go over like, how are we splitting the cost of things? Are we splitting it equally? Are we splitting it based on the square footage? But that needs to be laid out. And then lastly, what happens if people want to leave, if people want to move out or sell their portion of the partnership? And lastly, if you are preparing and you're thinking about like, all right, I want to make this a possibility for myself, the first thing you got to do is have the conversations with the people that you're thinking about buying with. And a lot of those conversations are, you got to get comfortable talking about your finances and sharing with them, this is how much I make, this is my credit score, these are my dreams, this is what I envision for the future. These are my expectations of the people that I'm living with and sharing this with, and then also, how are we going to be making decisions together? Or is one person going to be in charge of making decisions, or is it all of us equally, or do some of us not care? But these are all conversations that you have to have before you get into, like, really into it. Next, you want to figure out what your financing options look like. What does your budget look like? Do you guys have to fundraise, or like when you pull your resources together, how much do you have? You'd get your pre-approval and also figure out how you're splitting the down payment and the closing costs together. And then lastly is when you're actually going out and looking, you have to be very specific about the layout that you're looking at. So if you're looking at doing a house hack, you might want a bathroom in between the bedrooms, and those are things that you want to consciously look at, and just have an eye out for potential, but also understand that there is going to be limited inventory that actually meets your criteria. So yeah, you're going to have to be clear about what you're looking for, and that might take a while while we're looking. Anything you want to add for the financing option, or how people can prepare?
I mean, kind of taking a look at everything, there's three things that lenders look at, which is income, assets, and credit. So, everybody who's going to be on the loan, what does their income look like? On the credit, like what is their credit score? And not just that, but what are you financing? What kind of monthly payments do you have, whether it be car loans or school loans? And the down payment, like we talked about, there's a lot of ways for you to, obviously your savings, right? There's 401k sometimes that you can, utilize. And then there's also the ability to get a gift. Typically, if you're buying a house for the first time and it's a primary residence, and even sometimes buying the next home, as long as you're going to live there, you could receive 100% gift from family. So, there's fundraising, that may be a conversation to have with family. I've seen a lot of people do in different communities, like these people are ready to buy, their income and credits there. We all pool our money together to help them. And then, with a plan that eventually this next family who's also going to need the money, they're going to get that money eventually as well, so that you can, communally do it together. Maybe not as quickly for some as others, but it's like taking a little bit of sacrifice to push the family along, or the team along.
Yeah. And so there's a term for that, right? Well, in Spanish, we have a term.
Like a kind of like a cundina?
Like a cundina. Have you all heard of that term? Yeah, so it's when either one individual or it could be a family that they rotate. So they, in a way, are also pulling their money together and saying, right now we're all gonna put in $20, and then once we reach 1,000, this person's able to purchase this other thing. Okay, now we're still all going to continue to contribute $20, and now it's the next person's turn to be able to benefit from the 1,000. But the point is to be able to get to that fundraising goal a lot faster and help each other out. So with the understanding and agreement that everyone's going to eventually have a turn. And if people were to fundraise, however they raise money, you mentioned that it would have to be listed as a gift, right, for them to be able to be approved.
Right, that it's not a loan. For the terms of the lender, they want to see it be what they call a gift.
Right, and that's the end of our presentation.